CIT 1123 Instructional Packet Tracer Video 519, configuring named standard IPv4 ACLs. This is pretty much the same thing as we did in the last video with the numbered access lists. Named access lists are a little newer, and one of the reasons they became about is for IPv6 because there was no number systems left for IPv6. So they had used the numbers for IPv4 and IPX, SPX, and other protocols that nobody uses. And there was nothing left, so they decided to make named access control lists, and this is an example of a named access control list. Nice thing about the names, you can define the access list with the particular name. They also are easier to edit, although you can edit numbered access lists these days as well. And just the format of building them is slightly different, but it's not too bad. In this one, it mentions that we're going to create a standard ACL to prevent access to the file server. The file server contains, restricted information, and only the web manager workstation on PC1 and the web server should have access to that particular device. So we're going to go ahead and lock that thing down with an access list starting in part 1 here. So verify connectivity. We want to make sure that things are working. We can try PC0, and from PC0, let's see if we can't hit the file server. And by hit, I mean just ping. So 192.168.200.100. And let's see how we do there. Let's see if that works. Hopefully it's gonna work. And it does work, and we're gonna cut that thing out as soon as we get an opportunity to. So now that we see that works, just take my word for it. There's no access list set up at this point, but we are going to set one up right now. So let's do that with a access list on router 1, and we're going to permit host 20.4, which is a web manager, PC1, and also the web server 100.100. We're going to allow them, but we're going to deny everything else coming out of this particular interface, which is the FA0/1 interface on router 1. So let's go ahead and get into that. So let's go ahead and change that up. And we're just going to do IP access list. And we're going to do standard. And we're going to name it right now. So if we were doing a numbered, we'd put the number in right there. With the named, we have to identify, first of all, we have to identify a couple things that the number would have identified. So like when we use 10, we use 10 because that's a standard access list number. 1 through 99, those are standard access list numbers, and they're set for IPv4. So when we do a named access list, there's no inference to IPv4, and there's no inference to standard. So we have to identify both of those things in the statement. So that's why it's IP access list instead of just access list, because it was access list 10 or 1 or 9. That 1 or 9 says standard and IPv4. But since we're doing a named, the name doesn't tell us anything. So we have to designate it is IP and it is standard. Easy enough. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and fire this off. So that's file underscore server underscore restrictions and access permit host, and we use the keyword host when we want to do one specific IP address. So that's 192.168.20.4, and that's PC1. And now, since we've already named the access list, we can go right back to the permit statements again. So to the second half of the statements, permit host, once again, specific IP, 192.168.100.100, which is the web server. Great. Now, the next line that we're putting in here is a deny any, and we don't necessarily need deny any right now because there is a deny any implicit at the end, but they want us to put it in there, so let's go ahead and do it. So we'll do a deny any, and we should be good to go here. So we have 80% of the lab complete. Holy cow. All right, let's exit out of that. So the access control list is completed. Let's go into step B, substep B of step 2, where we're just going to do a quick show. So show access list, and there it is. And you can see that all your statement lines are numbered 10, 20, 30. If we wanted to edit that, we totally could, and we won't, but we will in the next lab. So let's go ahead and apply this to the correct interface, which is the FA0/1. And we're going to go ahead and post this access list. So IP access list, or excuse me, access group, and then just use the name, just like we would use the number before. And we post it, and it is working. Good deal. Okay, let's go back to PC0 and see if it worked. So this was successful before. Pinging the file server. Let's see what happens this time. And it fails. And it's successful. So we did it. Scored all the points, and it's functioning the way that it's supposed to. See you in the next video.